Imagine going back thousands of years and finding humans hunting rabbits for food. They weren't looking at rabbits as pets, they were looking at them as meat. And eventually, humans didn't just hunt rabbits. They began keeping and breeding them. So here's the strange part. If our ancestors already knew rabbits were edible, if they knew rabbits reproduced incredibly fast, and if rabbits could be raised without enormous amounts of land, why don't we eat rabbit meat everywhere today? Why did chicken become one of the world's most common meats while rabbit remained a relatively niche food? To understand that, we have to go back to the beginning. Before supermarkets and modern farms, humans got rabbit meat the simplest way possible. They hunted rabbits. Rabbits were small, but they were widespread, relatively easy to find, and provided useful meat. Archaeological evidence shows that people have hunted rabbits for thousands of years. And in some regions, rabbits became more than wild game. Humans began keeping them, breeding them, and eventually raising them specifically for food. So yes, our ancestors absolutely did eat rabbits. But eating an animal and building an entire civilization's food system around that animal are two very different things. And that's where the rabbit starts losing. The first problem is obvious. One rabbit doesn't give you much meat. A cow can provide a huge amount of meat from a single animal. A rabbit can't. So even though rabbits reproduce quickly, producing large amounts of rabbit meat means managing a lot of individual animals. More animals means more feeding, more handling, more housing, and more opportunities for disease to spread. That doesn't make rabbits bad livestock. It just means their biggest advantage, rapid reproduction, comes with a management problem. And there was another problem. Rabbits are surprisingly vulnerable animals. They can be affected by disease, stress, poor conditions, and problems with their young. A wild rabbit doesn't need a farmer to keep its entire population healthy. A rabbit farm does. So once humans tried to turn rabbits from occasional prey into large-scale livestock, the job became much more complicated. But here's the biggest reason rabbit never became the global meat champion: chicken. Chicken had a major advantage that rabbits simply couldn't compete with. Eggs. A chicken can give you meat, but before it becomes meat, it can keep producing eggs. That means one small animal can provide food repeatedly. Rabbits mainly give you meat. They can also provide fur and other useful products, but they don't offer the same combination of meat and eggs. And chickens have another advantage. They are small, they reproduce quickly, they can be raised in relatively little space, and they fit extremely well into human settlements and farming systems. So humans weren't choosing between a useful animal and a useless animal. They were choosing between two useful animals. And chicken had a better overall package. But biology isn't the whole story. There's another reason we don't all eat rabbit today: culture. Once a society gets used to eating a particular animal, that animal becomes normal. Chicken becomes food. Rabbit becomes something else. And once generations grow up eating chicken, an entire system develops around it. Farmers raise chickens. Businesses process chickens. Restaurants sell chicken. Supermarkets stock chicken. Consumers expect chicken. That demand makes chicken production bigger and cheaper, and the cycle keeps reinforcing itself. Rabbit never reached that same scale. So today, you're not simply comparing rabbit meat with chicken meat. You're comparing rabbit with an enormous industrial system that has been optimized around chicken for generations. But there's another strange twist. Rabbits actually became more successful around humans, just not necessarily as food. Modern cities gave them competitors and relatives in the urban ecosystem, while domesticated rabbits became pets and specialty livestock rather than everyday meat. And when rabbits escape into environments where they have few natural controls, their incredible reproduction can become a serious problem. Australia is the famous example. Introduced European rabbits multiplied enormously and caused major agricultural and ecological damage. So the exact trait that makes rabbits look attractive as livestock, their ability to reproduce rapidly, can also make them incredibly difficult to control. And now we can finally answer the question: did ancient humans eat rabbits? Yes, they hunted them for food. Later, people in different places also raised and bred rabbits. So why don't we eat rabbit everywhere today? Because humans didn't stop eating rabbits because rabbits suddenly became inedible. We simply found animals that fit our food systems better. Cows offered enormous amounts of meat, milk, hides, and labor. Sheep offered meat, milk, and wool. Goats could provide food while surviving in difficult environments, and chickens offered something especially powerful: meat and eggs from the same small animal. Over thousands of years, those advantages shaped farming traditions. Then, economics amplified the difference. More chickens meant cheaper chicken. Cheaper chicken meant more demand. More demand meant larger farms. Larger farms meant even lower production costs. Rabbit never entered that same cycle at the same scale. So the rabbit wasn't forgotten, it wasn't rejected by our ancestors, and it certainly wasn't discovered too late. Humans already knew. We knew rabbits could be hunted, we knew they could be eaten, we eventually learned to breed them, but knowing an animal is edible isn't enough to make it the world's dominant food animal. The animal has to fit the entire system, and chicken simply fit better. That's why something as strange as a rabbit can be both an ancient food and, for much of the modern world, not food at all. The animal didn't change. Our relationship with it did. And that's one of the strangest things about human food. We don't just eat what nature gives us. We decide what becomes dinner. If you enjoyed this journey into the strange food choices of our ancestors, subscribe to Monkey to Modern for more stories about how ancient humans experimented, adapted, and slowly built the world we live in today. And I'll see you in the next one.